Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's show. There was a horrible echo just then. It's like the opening credits were kind of like big echoes. But anybody hear any echoes out there tonight?
No, it's fine here.
No, it's fine. Yeah. Okay.
Particularly downbeat entrance this week, Jonathan.
It is because things have not gone to plan in the workshop over the weekend.
It hasn't been a happy day, has it?
I'm hoping it can be resolved, but should we just dive straight into the meat and potatoes of what's been going on? What's going on? Right. I started painting my little Laffley with the ICM paint set that I bought, and I kind of did some tests and worked out what I thought would be the right kind of thinning ratios and everything. So I started spraying it, and it's not. I am fully aware that you have to employ different painting techniques and stratagems for when you're dealing with water-based or vinyl-based acrylics like Vallejo and some of the other ones. But I was finding that even the way I spray, Vallejo Air, that this required a completely different approach. And it was all right when you were spraying small bits, but the moment you open the nozzle up to start covering large areas, it's as if the paint couldn't cope with it. Now, I am aware that Mike Williams is watching tonight, and Mike used ICM paints on his ICM his A26 Invader. So I'll be interested to hear his experience with this. Anyway, I persevered with it and managed to get some paint on the body. But every time I picked it up, the paint would rub off on sharp corners, edges. And this is over a base of Tamiya fine grey primer. And so I thought, well, and I also didn't like the finish. It was just a little bit rough compared to what it would like. So I thought, well, that's fine. We'll polish it out with a bit of kitchen towel. But polishing it out with kitchen towel just literally took it off the edges, and it just dragged and scratched. And
I do like that finish, though. That does look like quite a cool finish.
It's quite a cool finish, but it's not what I was aiming for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the end, I tried overpainting it with some. I just reached for some Tamiya, a suitable dark green, and actually Tamiya's RAF dark green, their XF81, looked pretty good. It's almost an exact match for the ICM paint. So I used that. I know where I am. It goes down. It's fine. I let it dry. I went out for a couple of hours this afternoon, came back, had a look at it. No, I didn't like it because you could see that ICM, the roughness of the ICM paint underneath it. So I ended up sticking it in a jam jar with the old oven cleaner, which is where it now resides in the sink at the moment. Most of the paint's come off. There's some in the footwell area where you've got all the knobs and levers are all glued in place, but I'm not going to worry about that. So we're going to start again. But Spencer does have a point when he says he never tries out new products on a model because
who would do that?
Now, I will qualify this. I will say that I was able to get it to. I was able to get it to spray. Okay, I did two experiments with it with the thinners I've got here, which was some Vallejo airbrush cleaner and actually a thing of some AK interactive thinner that I've got up there. That it sprays. I was able to spray fine lines, and actually when I was spraying the smaller parts, it performs beautifully. It's very, very nice. But like I say, the moment you start opening it up for volume, it's almost like that's when the paint starts falling down. Now, as I say, Mike used it on his ICM Invader. So I'm not going to say the paint is rubbish, because clearly people are using it and they're getting on with it. I just didn't get on with it.
No, it's fair.
Discuss.
I mean, I bought 2 packets of it because it was a new paint, and I like new paints and I always try them. And I never like water-based acrylics. I like them for detail work and things like that. You know, and it's the same with the he says casting around, but I can't seem to. That's how far they've gone. It was the same with the AK third generation acrylics. No, I ordered a set of those a while back, tried them. And you know, you can get them to work, but I simply don't enjoy it, and I don't like the result. It's as simple as that. That the methods you need to use to get them to perform well don't sit comfortably with the methods I've developed over the last 20 odd years for lacquers. And the finish that I get isn't bad by any means, and it's, you know, it's fine, but I don't like it. Now, there's a difference between something being bad and you not liking the result.
I think the thing I've always found with we'll call them water-based acrylics, your
I tend to call them the Euro acrylics.
The Euro acrylics, we'll call them Euro acrylics, right? Is you almost have to airbrush them on dry. Does that make sense? Because if you put down wet coats, unlike lacquers, where it will hold its ground and then level off, and as the thinner evaporates, it will level off. Because this doesn't have something in it which is like a solvent, all it's going to do is sit on the surface until until it evaporates, and the evaporation process is much, is obviously much slower. So if you're a bit too heavy-handed, you literally start pushing paint around on the surface. So when you're airbrushing these Euro acrylics or water-based acrylics, you have to do it in a much slower, kind of drier sense. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, generally, I find that you have to do the first coat like that, and then you can apply a subsequent coats a little bit wetter.
You have to dust it. You have to dust the paint on initially.
But the problem with dusting that on initially is that immediately ruins the smoothness of your finish.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and like I say, it's not about the finish being bad. It's about not liking the finish. There is a difference there, because as we've seen with Mike Williams' B26K Invader, the results quite clearly can be beautiful without any trouble at all. But I don't like the process of getting there.
No.
I don't enjoy the process of getting there.
Mike says he thinned the ICM paints with Ataka acrylic thinners designed for their blue line and red line acrylics, about 30%. Sprayed at approx 20 psi over a primer coat of Mr. Colour lacquer flat back. For me, they behave like Tamiya acrylic. Well, do you know what, Mike? I will serve myself a huge slice of humble pie here, and I will order some of the Hataka acrylic thinners, because I was trying. In the little Petri dishes here, I was trying to see what other things are compatible with it. I tried to see if they were compatible with isopropyl alcohol. No, it just turns into yogurt. I tried it with Mr. Colour thinners, because sometimes that will work. No, it doesn't like that either, which is weird, because Mr. Colour thinner actually works with Vallejo acrylic. All right, so in the end, it was down to Vallejo airbrush cleaner and their thinner and these AK thinners. They work fine, but I just found the finish was so fragile. And I don't know if you found that, Mike, whether you found it was. I think the thing is, with aircraft, you've got smoother surfaces. With military vehicles, you've got hard edges, and I think that's where there is that chance of it actually starting to kind of rub off and everything.
I found that they didn't. They would scratch very easily, but they masked okay. They didn't pull up when I masked them. It was like an odd sort of difference. But you'd think if something scratched easily or wore off easily, it also wouldn't mask very well. But I didn't have any trouble with it.
Yeah, I'm going to follow Mike's advice. I'm going to order some of those. I'm going to order some of those Hataka thinners because I've got some Hataka paints to try out anyway. But I will try. I will try them out, but I will try them out on something inconspicuous next time.
But here's the other issue: is that you've hit the nail on the head. Is that all these different makes of acrylics, they're all completely different formulas, and they all react differently to different thinners, which just makes it, Whereas I know that if I'm using Mr. Color, MRP, AK, Gianotis, Hataka Orange Line, all of those, I know that I can use. I'm leaving Tamiya out because it's still, Tamiya's lacquers, but I know that with all of those colours, whatever thinner I've got to hand in the lacquer in the lacquer milieu, whether that be Mr. Color thinner, Mr. Color leveling thinner, Mr. Color rapid, the Gianotis Metal Master, the Gianotis Standard, the Hataka stuff I've got here, I know that if I pull any of those, Tamiya lacquer thinner, Tamiya's retarding lacquer thinner, I know that with any of those, I can chuck some of that paint, whatever make of paint, in the paint cup, and I can chuck some of whatever thinner I've got to hand into the paint cup, and it is going to thin and not gum up the airbrush.
I know that. Stu Wellard does make a very good point. It says, did you not use the manufacturer's thinner, as it's always a risk with others, and perhaps where you had issue breaking down the paint?
But yes, again, that only seems to apply specifically to the water-based acrylics. When you're using the lacquers, it really doesn't matter.
No,
they'll all some of them might perform a little bit better with their own make, but none of them are going to cause any fundamental problems with.
Like I say, I went through. I always test these things out beforehand, and I did the. Like I say, a little petri dish, and it's almost like doing blood plasma. It's like a serum. You're doing it, and you're saying, right, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Blah blah blah. And and I actually with the AK thinner I've got here, I was able to spray fine lines, and they were consistent. And I thought, well, this is good. And like I say, it was performing well on small things. When it came to doing larger areas, it just doesn't. I couldn't handle it. And the thing is, I am absolutely hold my hands up and say, that this most probably is me, not the paint, because I know a lot of people who get on fine with that MMP paint. You and I, on the other hand, we tried it once
and hated it.
And that was it.
and hated it. Yeah, and yeah, it's just different people react. Have different experiences, and again, I know that I can pick up if I've got a color cup full of, say, MRP, and I want to change the tin. I know I can drop some Hataka, some Mr. Color, some Tamiya's lacquer, or what's marketed as their acrylics. I can drop any of those paints into that paint to change the tin and not have a problem.
No,
I know it's just going to break. It's just going to change a tint, and it's going to dissolve into the base paint, no problem at all. I wouldn't dream of if I had Vallejo Air in my airbrush and I wanted to change the tint, I wouldn't dream of trying to put AK third generation acrylic in there to change the tint, because I just don't know what's going to happen. But you simply don't get that with the lacquers.
No. Well, Stu does make a very good point. There may be something in the makeup of the paint that is reacting with the other thinners or chemicals. They weren't reacting, Stu. They were mixing, they were spraying, and it wasn't clogging. It wasn't. Trust me, reaction is when it just suddenly kind of like turns into cottage cheese. But perhaps the thinners I was using were breaking the paint down to the extent that it just wasn't adhering properly. I don't know, but that was the biggest problem. Was it just wasn't sticking at all. And Christian says, my old lacquer thinners are ones from AK Real Colors, Hataka Orange Ore, Alita Life Colors, excellent German brand. That's interesting. Mr. Hobby leveling thinner also works, but is a bit hotter. I tried Mr. Color leveling thinners on these ICM paints, and again, it just turned into yogurt. So, yeah, and there you go. ICM like Humber acrylics are sensitive to regular thinners and only thin with water. Well, this is what I am. This is what I am going to be, experimenting with further down the line. However, I won't be experimenting with it on a model. Let's put it that way. Yet. Rob says, "I've never found water-based acrylics to be that durable." Well,
that's exactly right. That's exactly my experience.
Having said
that, I have found that the original Vallejo model color and Vallejo Air, whilst I didn't enjoy spraying them, I found them really quite durable.
Yeah, I was just going to say
they were some of the more durable ones.
Up here somewhere, I've got the Vallejo surface primer, but I've got their olive drab, and their olive drab, I don't use it as a primer because you can't sand it, but I do use it as an undercoat, and it's a beautiful color. It sprays fantastically, and the finish is absolutely silk smooth.
That was the problem with the Vallejo primers. They spray beautifully. They give a really, really nice eggshell finish. You just can't sand them. It's another one of those plucked defeat from the jaws of victory. The first time I sprayed it, I thought, this is amazing.
But I wasn't using it. I wasn't using it as a primer. I was using it as an undercoat, as a base coat for other things. And Dave says, sounds like putting poster paint on plastic. Pretty much, Dave. Yeah. And Stu makes another point. He says, and they are water based. They need a primer. They certainly do, Stu, which is why they went down onto this. Absolutely. So, and of course, about the only water-based kind of primer out there that does work is that Stynylrez stuff.
Yes.
But anyway,
I like it. I've still got Stynylrez here. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, that Stynylrez, I used it for a few months and then quickly moved on to something else. Not because there was anything wrong with it, just because something else came along. And I moved on to it.
I just stick with this.
And it's still pretty much a bit of housekeeping. Can I just ask if Mr. Reeves is still watching? Can I ask you to just check your instant messages, Mike, and get back to me? It is related to the show. So
Steve Moore says, why doesn't it sand? It just doesn't. It just doesn't.
It just rolls up.
I think it's because it doesn't actually. It doesn't actually kind of bite into the surface. It just sits on the top of it.
See, the problem there, John, is that Stynylrez is completely water-based as well. That's got no solvent in it whatsoever, and yet it sands and feathers. It's just, I think that the Vallejo primer is pretty heavy on the latex component in the paint or in the pigment, and when you sand it, it just rolls up into little greeblies, doesn't it, under the paper. You just got a message turn up. Yes, there you
go. But yeah, well, honestly, I'm not, tonight I'm not trashing the ICM paint. Far from it. I'm just relating my personal experience is at the moment. I'm not getting on with it, and I didn't like the finish. I just couldn't get a handle on. Just like I say, I'm used to certain techniques for spraying Vallejo paints and obviously lacquer paints and things and lacquer acrylics and yada yada. But this, I just no. I can see. I will persevere to see what I can do with them, but in terms of actually investing in a range to try out, yeah,
it's not going to become a part of your armory, is it?
No.
No. Yeah, I mean, it certainly won't. It certainly won't become part of mine. And I think it's important. James Ray there with saying ducks down. No need to duck down. It's everybody uses what suits them. And it's absolutely fine if what you're using works for you. That's all it needs to do. There's no right or wrong. It's just that I think we have become so used to using lacquers these days for so long.
Yeah, I just got. There was a there was a couple of comments here which I'm just playing catch up here. We haven't got any news this week, folks, because there is not much news this week. So hey ho. John Collins, I like this comment. John Collins says, "Hello guys, I got into an argument earlier on a Facebook page where I said YouTube has been more beneficial to the hobby than magazines. Am I the bad guy for claiming this?" I don't think so.
Well,
I think
as far as I'm concerned, no, you're exactly right.
Yeah, I think
you're
in recent years, I've been learning more things and from watching stuff like Night Shift and whatnot than the magazine. So I don't think that's an unfair assessment.
No,
I
not at all.
I would ask whether the person you were arguing with, John, whether there's somebody who actually bothers watching YouTube videos.
Because there isn't a day goes by that I'm not watching something on YouTube model related.
Well, I've started watching that I can't think what the name of the channel is, but it's the one that did that powder blue Mini Cooper.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just no, Artie is a bit of thing. It says Premier Hobbies. 4th birthday sale on all product lines ends this evening at 23:59 hours UK time. Well, that's interesting. After the show, might go on there and have a look.
Yeah. Oh, let's spend some money.
I tell you what,
Let's spend some money that we didn't know on stuff we didn't know we needed until we went on the website.
Pretty much, yeah. Who needs heating? I tell you what, I did message you and Dave this week about my finger was hovering over that order for that AMT Enterprise kit, because it was just like I'll explain to people what the story was. It's the AMT boxing of the Enterprise from Star Trek, the original kit, the one that started off in the 60s. They did alter it anyway. This was the 50th anniversary boxing, so it comes in a special sleeve and whatever. But I've always wanted to go back to build that kind of like the very first Enterprise kit, because I actually had one as a kid, but I didn't want it. I swapped it for a short Sterling, and also I've got the Kalmbach book on famous spaceships of fact and fantasy, which I know you've got a copy of, Drew. And
yes.
I see the builds in there, and I thought, no, I've always wanted to have a crack at that. I found it on a website. No idea who these people were, but they apparently had 10 in stock, and they were doing them for 40 quid, including post, which I thought was a pretty good price for a kit of that rarity, but didn't go for it. Chickened out.
Oh, you're a disappointment.
Well, and it's a good job I did chicken out, because Mr. Hills contacted me on Saturday to say that just turned up in Antics is the Mini Art Tempo E400 Holiday Pritch, which I've got to say has already supplanted the Lafley in my affections as weird awesomeness. So I've got to pop into Antics this week and pick that up off of Mr. Hills. And that will be the next thing I build after I've finally wrestled the Lafley into submission. But doesn't that
You're
just
not
look
wrestling the
fabulous?
Lafley, are you? All you've got to do is strip the paint and treat the last day like a bad dream. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
But you know what it's like when you're working on something. You've got this with the IBG 190s at the moment.
But I haven't had anything go wrong with it. I've just gone, I'm not really into this at the moment. But there's nothing.
Sometimes when something does go wrong, that can then just make you go, oh, yeah.
It would be a shame, because you were banging on about that Lafley for months.
I'll persevere. I will get it through the finish line, but my enthusiasm is just kind of because of this paint. But I'm sure once I kind of like clean off the rest. I mean, at the moment, I just had a quick look at it. I just had a quick rinse of it under the tap, and actually pretty much 90% of the paint's off of it. There is some still in the footwells of the driving compartment, but to be honest with you, once the seats are in there and I've done some weathering, I'm not even going to bother
Yeah,
if
get it
it's
out,
a bit-
wash it off, leave it overnight to dry. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So
It'll be fine.
yeah. Well, anyway.
But yeah, I kind of the IBG 190 is gorgeous. I just kind of for some reason I just went, I really want to build a fast jet at the moment. I don't know, just one of those feelings because I build all sorts of airplanes. I just suddenly badly wanted to build a fast jet, so I boxed it up. It's up there, and I started a fast jet, and here we are, just rocketing through a Trumpeter MiG-31 actually, with a rather large missile under it, a rather large ballistic missile.
Mike's just said echo bad. Anybody got
It's
echo?
fine,
Echo tonight?
It's fine here.
Oh, I'm just checking my audio here. I've got echo cancellation on. I've got mic volume. It's all right. We always check these things before we go live, but it's just.
No, I will say your sound hasn't changed at all for me.
Yeah. Okay.
And given the sheer volume of of audio issues we've had in the past, we're quite. It's fair to say we're quite sensitive about audio issues on the show, aren't we?
I'm quite ruthless about it, quite frankly. So anyway, that's enough. Oh yeah, John Patrick Huston says, after watching the A4 Garage Mini Cooper build, I was ready to give up and just become an observer. Something I know I felt with a mag article. Yep. But yeah, Patrick, John rather, that video of that Mini, that powder blue one that's on YouTube, it's just gorgeous. I think we've talked about it.
Powder blue or is it grey? Looks grey to me.
Sorry?
Looks grey to me.
What?
It looks grey to me. Looks grey to me.
No. Powder blue.
It's definitely
grey. Shane. Hello, Shane. He says, bit of disinformation earlier. The Games Workshop primers are lacquer-based. The various small bottles of paint are water-based acrylics. Yep. And I know people do get mixed up. They do get mixed up with, the term acrylic. It tends to be kind of like slightly misunderstood because people think, oh, it's acrylic, it's water-based, and then they kind of like spray a can of acrylic. Kind of like a can of acrylic paint over something they've painted, and then suddenly it just attacks the paint underneath, and it's like,
that's an acrylic.
Yeah,
that's an acrylic. All those Halford sprays you buy, they're acrylics. But I mean, I get why people. I get where that sort of that goes back to the days between when your only choices were enamels or acrylics, doesn't it? So I kind of, I'm not too prescriptive about that. But it can. I didn't actually realise that the Games Workshop primers. I think we're talking about the Chaos Black and stuff like that. I didn't realise they were lacquer based. I've never used them because I've got no need for them. We've got other.
Yeah, well, when you say lacquer based, they are a kind of like they're a hot.
Yeah, I didn't realise that. I assumed they were an acrylic. More of an aerosolized sort of Stynylrez or Vallejo, something like that.
No.
I didn't realise
they're hot. Let's put it that way.
As Dave Fleming says, 2K acrylic and deadly. Don't use it.
Yeah. Also, something I did comment on today. Again, it's kind of like, it's not misinformation, but it's kind of I don't know why. I don't know why people sometimes say these things. It was on some place elsewhere, and somebody said, "Oh, never apply lacquer paints over water-based acrylics." And I'm thinking, but I do that all the time. I would use, to me, Mr. Color, the GX Gloss, which is a lacquer.
Yeah.
I'll use that over water-based acrylics. And it's like this afternoon, just to prove a point on the body of that Lafley, I thought, well, let's see if we can improve the this kind of like, you know, the finish of this ICM paint, I literally went over it with pure lacquer thinner because I was cleaning the airbrush out anyway. Went over it with pure lacquer thinner. The lacquer thinner doesn't touch it. So I don't know where this idea that somehow putting, you know, when we say lacquers, or we're talking about something that contains an aggressive lacquer solvent. So say if you're using Tamiya or Gunze or even Mr. Color or whatever, the idea that lacquer thinner will attack water-based acrylics, I can generally say I've never come across that.
I have, but only by clumsily applying the lacquer over it.
Okay.
You know, I have had issues with wrinkling of paint and stuff like that, but that is entirely down to me and cocking up the application rather than the and I think it's also important to say that yes, we do it as a pastime. You know, we do it all the time, but, and I don't mean this to sound the wrong way, we know what we're doing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, you know, it's just that we've learned over the years how to do it. And you know, you quite often see, and on the aforementioned YouTube videos, quite often I'm quite shocked at how heavily people apply coats of paint and think, you know, and you know, less experienced models apply coats of paint. And sometimes I think, yeah, you kind of, I see where the problem comes from, because you haven't built it up to the point where you've got a kind of protection before applying a decent wet coat. It's about experience and practice. You know, we get to the stage where we don't think, you know, we don't think twice about doing that sort of thing. And then you have to rewind and think, yeah, but other people haven't got that experience.
No, absolutely.
You know, it's the same with other, you know, people talking about the you know, having to set up and break down the airbrush and how much of a pain it is to set up. And you and I just sit with airbrushes next to our bench 24/7, and we grab them for the smallest jobs where we just put a drop or two of paint in, paint it, and move on. You know, almost quicker than, you know, picking up a paintbrush in a lot of cases. And it's just it's the result of experience. Nothing more.
Yeah. Well, it's every day is a school day, and I'm currently in detention for using these paints on my Lafley. So
yes,
no, but it's I'll hold my hand up. You know, it's you know, it is a learning curve, and it will continue to be a learning curve. And part of that learning curve is I wanted to see what these paints are like, because you know, somebody contacted us today about the comment we made a few weeks ago, which is you know, trying something new. And because it could become your new favorite thing. So I'm always keen to, you know, I'll try these paints out, I'll try these things out, tried them, didn't get on with them. So, but like I say, that's not to say other people's mileage won't differ.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's trying something new on a model that you're building can be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, I get why you don't want to do it in case it goes wrong. On the other hand, I often think that if you're doing it on a model you're building and you care about, you tend to be a bit more exacting about how you approach it. You know, if I'm
care about my model.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But no, if I've got a test bed that I'm trying something new on, I don't really care. I just spray it and see what happens. If I'm doing it on a model that I've got to a stage where I actually care and I want the model to be good, I will be a bit more exacting about working out how I'm going to go about it. So I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
I just thought, well, you know, it's all I'm doing is putting a coat of green on it. What could possibly go wrong? Well,
Jonathan Mock,
there we go.
best thing, sliced bread.
Smoke grey. Okay, fair enough. I think I always refer to it as powder blue, but you know.
Well, you're wrong.
I clearly am wrong. You know, what do I know? I only drive the things. So
yeah, but it's not blue.
You know, it's, what can you say? So anyway, enough about me and my my woes. What are you working on at the moment?
Well, as I said, the aforementioned MiG 31. I bought this cheap when I went to see Nigel last year, and I found it cheap in a shop and bought it. I'm not a huge fan of the MiG 31 really, but this had. I just swapped to the. So I've got this far in the last. It's only been building it about a day, so you can see some fit issues. Going to need filling around the underside there, but generally it's gone together really nicely. But the main thing for this was it's the MiG 31K with the big ballistic missile, which, as you can see, is
that's a whopper, isn't it?
Yeah, that's so that's a hypersonic ballistic missile that about 10 of them have been modified to carry about 1,000-mile range. Sort of supposed to be an aircraft carrier killer, really. But yeah, it's just I've been doing this the last day, and I've been started doing some painting and stuff earlier on today to start bringing it all together. So yeah, I just really wanted to build a fast jet, and this one caught my eye. So, but as you can see, it all goes together really, really nicely. It all fits together, and then they go in, and then that will that clips into place quite nicely. And then the so it's a big old. I mean, it's a funny thing is, it's a big old airplane, but it doesn't feel to me as big as a MiG-25 when I'm building it. Although it's sort of exactly the same size because it's a development of the MiG-25. But so yeah, that's the Trumpeter MiG-31 that I've started over the last day or so. And yeah, that big missile's impressive, isn't it?
Kind of like blue steelish, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's yeah, it's like I say, it's a hypersonic ship killer, really, is what it's intended for. Although at the moment some have been deployed into, shall we say, some quite sensitive areas by all accounts. So we'll wait to see what happens. But I was sent some Super Hornet pylons by our Mr. Reeves from his range. And what I did earlier on was I painted some up and then gave them a wash just to highlight the detail. So I just want people to see what they're getting if they order from our Mike. So all of the so they're all 3D printed.
That's a bit tasty.
Yeah. So like I say, that's not resin cast. That is 100% 3D printed. And there's one of the main Super Hornet pylons. So you can see all the detail of the actual shackle points and stuff there. And there's actually I think there's some bomb release units to go inside there. So you can do them empty or equipped. So, and I believe now Mike did send these to me still on their casting blocks. So any of the little lumps you can see there are just where I've basically taken them away from the supports. So they need. Well, let's have a little. So these here still need a little bit of. The supports need a little bit of cleaning up.
Mike says he will be stopping actual resin casting as of June this year.
Yeah, Mike's kind of led the charge a little bit in the last 6 months of sort of not just bringing out new stuff in 3D printing rather than resin, but actually adapting his range to be able to be 3D printed. Which is nowhere near as easy as one might expect. There's a lot of work that goes into making something that was resin cast able to be 3D printed. So, but there's a couple of There's a couple of pylons that I just separated from their supports. Gave a coat of Tamiya fine surface primer and then some black oil paint just to highlight the detail. So hopefully, if you're building a Super Hornet by Meng or Hasegawa or Trumpeter, I think do 48 scale one, Revell. There's a lot of Super Hornets on the market now. But if you're doing any of those and you want to spruce it up a little bit, quite clearly, pylons would be a good place to start, I would suggest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
almost a shame to hang something off of those, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's inserts. I haven't got the inserts yet because it's, you know, it's stuff that Mike sends out for people to just show off and things like that. Yeah, bomb racks are separate. The actual racks that go up inside there, but as you can see, to have all this area here, you know, in some places up to 3 or 4 millimeters deep, with sidewalls and stuff, and all the detail inside them.
It's amazing stuff.
And the thing is, that's just, you know, that is 3D printed. That's one part. So as long as your orientation and supporting is correct in 3D printing, that's, you know, that's a one part replacement for the kit parts, which are probably, you know, multiple parts each. Because the Hornet pylons, you know, you can see that's quite a chunky pylon. That's quite a chunky pylon. So yeah, that was just, I just wanted to show, because I think there are plans afoot for our Andy Hills at Antics is looking at starting to carry this range stuff. So they're hopefully making more inroads into not just having to order them straight from America, if you know what I mean. Hopefully we'll be able to get some suppliers in the UK or Europe stock these things. But yeah, they're fantastic, aren't they? The level of detail on them is just is just stunning. And they come off
first time I ever wanted to build a model based on a pylon.
Well, I look at these and I think that to be fair, I think Mike could make a pretty healthy living just getting people to design pylons for him. You know, if you can imagine this kind of detail on, I don't know, an AV8B stroke Harrier 2 pylon, you know, A7 Corsair pylon, A6 Intruder pylon, all those sorts of, you know, pylons are really very, very complicated assemblies in their own right. So, you know, this is a sort of thing that's really, really quick and easy, but brings a significant improvement to your kit, I think.
Yeah. There's a question here, which is, I'll let you field this one, Drew, because I just have to go and deal with something. It says, looks fantastic. Does Mike do his own CAD? Well, Mike's actually in the conversation here, so Mike could answer that himself. As far as I'm aware, Mike has got a collection of people who do CAD work for him, although I think Mike does do some CAD work himself. But stuff like these pylons were designed for him. You know, he contracts people to print design for him. I believe these are your work, aren't they, Richard? Richard Van Zandt there. These are his pylons, I think. So yeah, I didn't realise Richard was in the conversation. But yeah, these are by Richard, I believe. And I know that John Chung does some stuff as well. And I'm still teaching myself how to do CAD. So I'm making progress myself, but it's certainly not to this level of quality yet. So yeah, and it's good to see. Yeah, A7 and F15 pylons already designed and being printed. Excellent. Certainly for the let's switch back to my. There you go. See my face again. Whether you like it or not, really. So yeah, I think pylons certainly on fast jets are a great thing for 3D printing to
to bring to the game. And it's really interesting that Mike's switching to entirely 3D printing later this year. You know, because Mike's been doing resin casting for what, a decade and a half now. And as you know, suddenly has realised that it's reached the stage where he can do everything with 3D printing.
There we go. Richard Van Zant said, "I
Yeah.
did most of the CAD design for these pylons."
Yeah. I didn't even realise Richard was watching. Otherwise, I would have mentioned his name, but I didn't know. It's kind of, you don't know whether to mention who, you know, if you know who's done the design. I knew that Richard had done this design, but does he want me to say it? Does he not want me to, you know? So until Richard said, yes, it was me, you couldn't really, you know.
Here's a question. So go on.
Larry Russo, I'm trying to learn CAD, also not easy. No, it's not easy, but it's as soon as some sort of concepts click into place, it sort of makes a lot more sense. So I've come a long way in a couple of years of teaching myself a little bit here and there. So it's not easy, but stick with it. I mean, John, you were nagging me for years to get into CAD, weren't you?
I was nagging you to get into CAD for years, and yeah, it's. I mean, yeah, you know, because I could tell you would have an aptitude for it, which you clearly have got an aptitude for it because you just go, oh, you know, I just wanted something for my wheel wells for my Focke-Wulf 190, so you know, I just bang them out, and you know, it's kind of like, yes, I mean, is 3D printing something I really want to get into? Not when I know so many people who are very good at designing things and I've got 3D printers. I can just say, can you do this? Can you make this for me? So, you know,
yeah,
I have a dog and bark, essentially.
It's fair enough. It's fair enough. And I know that, I mean, Mike and I have certainly got, we've both got Elegoo Saturn printers, which are quite large format printers now. I've also got an original format, an original Gangster, Anycubic Photon, and I've also got a Sonic Mini 4K, which has been nothing but trouble. But I'm finally dialing my Sonic Mini 4K in, it seems. So, and I'm looking to other printers this year. So it's a hobby in its own right. You know, whilst I kind of sat down. I mean, with that Focke-Wulf 190, those wheel locks I was doing last week, realistically, that took me about an hour and a half to design. I needed to print 2 for this Focke-Wulf 190. Instead of which, I spent 3 days productionizing it rather than building any models. So, because you just end up going through different iterations of the design and how you're mounting it and how you're printing it. And so something that should have taken me about 3 or 4 hours to get the result I wanted, I just spent 3 days doing nothing but working on that just to get it as good as I could possibly get it, on the idea that somebody might want it at some point. I know Robin Powell's also. I sent the design to Robin Powell, and he's printed some off of his IBG 190s. So, you know, that's something I'll, you know, if people want it, ask me, I'll send them the design for it, and they can print their own off. It's, you know, these things are 4 or 5 millimeters long and about 3 millimeters tall. So, you know, it's difficult to argue that they'd be particularly saleable on, you know, on their own, rather than as a part of a set. So, yeah, Mike's moved on to Mars 3s already. Best and easiest to use. So I was looking at a Mars 3 just yesterday, actually, and thinking of ordering one. Do I need a 4th 3D printer?
Well, the 3D printers are a bit like guitars, aren't they? You know, do I need a Fender? Well, do I need a Telecaster guitar? I've never owned a Telecaster, and I would like to own a Telecaster, but do I need one? I don't need one. I'd like one, but I don't need one.
That's the point where we have to separate what's all this nasty need stuff. Do I want a Mars 3? And right now, Yes, I do. But until we see what's coming with the Sonic Mini 8K, see how that performs in the real world, and the new Anycubic Photon Ultra, which is using a light projection system. You know, like with all technology these days, you know, the Mars 3 has been out a few months and it's already looking at being superseded any month. So it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Apparently, higher resolution by 30% over Saturn.
Yeah, because the Saturn's a 4K as well, but it's 4K over a larger surface area, whereas the Mars and the Anycubic the Sonic Mini 4K, a small format but 4K, so you actually get more. You know, each pixel is relatively speaking smaller, so it tends to be.
Wayne says he needs some of those for a 24 scale 190. So there you go.
Well, there you go. That's and that on something this simple. This genuinely is something that can just be scaled out to 24th and printed off.
Well, perhaps what you should do is next time you do a print run is arrange them so that you've got 72nd, 48th, 32nd, 24th all on one little print block, and you're done then.
Yeah, no, it's really easy to do. It's, you know, you drop it into the slicer, rescale it to where you want, and it's done. That's it. You know, you just go ahead and print. But the thing is with that, when you sort of getting into scaling stuff up and down, sometimes you have to do some more work on the supports for it, because all that sort of stuff works differently depending on the size of a component. Stuff like those Focke-Wulf 190 wheel locks, you know, even in 24th scale, they're going to be, you know, 10, 15 millimeters long and 7 or 8 millimeters deep. It's still a tiny little component, relatively speaking, so it wouldn't be a problem. But then you get into the point where in 72nd scale it looks great. Do I need to refine it to go up to 24th scale? Probably do. Some stuff doesn't scale, some stuff does. But yeah, I'm really pleased that Mike's sort of grasped the nettle with the 3D printing and has come to sort of over the last year of doing 3D printing for some of his stuff, has sort of almost organically come to the decision that he can ditch casting altogether and move to 3D.
Well, I think there's also an element of that some of these designs get so not complex, but they become so involved that it's almost impossible to cast them.
Yes, and the thing is, a lot of the big manufacturers these days, the Edwards and stuff, their resin cast stuff starts out as a 3D print anyway. The Masters are 3D prints anyway, so it, you know, why not just print it? Especially now when you're not getting when you're getting far less issues with things like you know, layer lines and stuff. I mean, this is, like I say, if I show you this here, you know, hopefully it can focus, but that was printed. That's not even particularly high resolution. I printed that this afternoon. Certainly not the resolution. I think Mike prints those at 0.035, something like that. And there's no, you know, even at this, there's no layer lines visible. So, yeah. I don't know what are they printed at, Mike? At your end, if Mike's still watching.
Yeah, I think he's. Yeah, we got there we go. Drew's picture is very low res today. It is here as well, but hey ho, I think it's. I'll check it back on the recording, but it's weird that, because we're supposed to be streaming in high definition here, but
there you go. Mike prints at 0.02, so that's just under 1,000th of an inch per layer. So yeah, and as you can see, printed at 0.02. You know, there's no layer lines visible. I know if it's low res, people can't really see it, but trust me, there's no layer lines visible on that. And I was printing the Focke-Wulf 190 wheel locks at 0.035, and it was still no no layer lines visible or anything. Yeah, I don't know why my image is has dropped in resolution tonight. It's just one of those foibles, I think, of the interwebs.
I'll check it on the recording. It's weird because we should be going through in full res here. I think what I might do for the future is run an Ethernet cable from the router into the MacBook here. You know, having to get another micro USB connection for it. We'll see what that does.
Yeah, the problem is that I mean, I'm watching myself on my screen here, and that is going through the internet and back because it's through StreamYard, and the image looks fine to me.
Yeah, I'll check it. I'll check it on the recording afterwards. Yeah, we've a little bit of news for you, and that is, he says, sharing screen, and that is, you may have noticed that the home team have started their own kind of like webcast thing. Spruitle.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I wonder where they got the idea from. Anyway, so you can join them over there on YouTube. We've put links up onto the onto our page and everything. Who knows? They might invite us to come on and chat to them, seeing as we've had them on our show. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, it adds to the mix, and it's good PR as well. So you know,
absolutely, it's good to it's good to see them grasping the technology as it's available and making the most of it. You know, and it's why, with that gentleman earlier who was talking about the fact that he made the argument that YouTube has done more for modeling than magazines. I think the internet in general, for all its downsides, has been nothing but good for the hobby.
Yeah, no, I've said that. I've said that all along. You know, it's the positives far outweigh the negatives in my book, and yep, wouldn't disagree with that. Well, we've come to that time in the evening when any other business?
Not from me, no. It's been a peculiarly quiet week in terms of news, hasn't it? It's we seem to be in that late January going into February lull.
Well, we're having a couple of exciting weeks with you know what with you know, ICM and who was it the other week? Mini Art, and you know, it's all been a bit mad, Ted. But now it's
bit mad,
you know, and obviously the Airfix stuff a few weeks ago, but you know, and we've had the Italeri bits and pieces. So I think, you know, pretty much that's the big guns. Revell have announced some stuff, but they don't seem to. See, Revell don't seem to announce a full year program like they used to. They just kind of they're following the Tamiya model of kind of dribs and drabs throughout the year. So, but I'm sure something exciting will turn up in the next week or so. There'll be another.
I'm sure Mini Art will oblige in the next 2 days.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to picking up that tempo. I don't know whether to do a pop-up live tomorrow about that or save it for Wednesday. I think we might save it for Wednesday, actually.
See Rob Monfy there saying, haven't Mini Art released a set of trampolines this week? I was just going to say they've released a set of kumquats or something, but
don't give them ideas. I think a set of trampolines would that would definitely Who knows? But yeah, I'm looking forward to picking up that tempo tomorrow. I did go onto the Premium Hobbies website to see what bargains could be.
Premier Hobbies.
Everything that I had a look at sold out.
Is that Premier or Premium?
No, Premium.
Right, because that was Premier. That was.
It's definitely Premium Hobbies. Hang about. Here we go. Look. Un momento, per favore. Share screen. Ping. There we go. So, unless there is a premiere, but I'm assuming this is the one that that was being referred to because it's their birthday weekend. So,
well, Artie Mod there said Premier Hobbies' 4th birthday.
I think Artie probably means premium.
Yeah,
I think he probably means premium. I got to say, I did scroll down and had a look, and I thought, oh, look, that red cement. Yes, I'll get. Oh, sold out. So never mind. I'll get some in the end. So I did have a quick whiz through to see what exciting things I could get, and like I say, everything that I like the look of. Unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately for me, they've sold out. Fortunately for premium, they've sold out. So they seem to be doing a roaring trade with this at the moment. But I will get some of that red cement at some stage. Give that a go. That looks interesting. But no, I went on there. Couldn't find anything in stock.
Nothing for the likes of us.
Sorry?
Nothing for the likes of us.
Nothing for the likes of us. So, but other than that, I don't know. I would desperately love to be able to stay up tonight and watch the ball game, as I believe Colonial Cousins refer to it, in the old Super Bowl, because I can listen to it
Super
on the
Bowl
radio
night?
here.
I didn't realise it was Super Bowl night.
Yeah, it's Super Bowl tonight. It is. He was just about to. I think it's the LA Chargers versus the LA Rams, LA Chargers, and it's versus the other chaps, and I can't remember who they are now. The Bengals, apparently.
The Bengals.
So that's my absolute limit of American football there, which means I won't be getting a job on Radio 5. But,
No, you know more about American football than I do.
Hey, come on! I could have surreptitiously Googled it to giving you a definitive answer, but I was working on what I was listening to, what I was listening to on the radio today. So yeah, Artie says my error. Yeah, premium. So Mike Reeves says there we go. It's the LA Rams versus the Cincinnati Bengals. There we go.
Who cares, Bob?
So on that note, now I'm going to try and stay up because I do enjoy it. I mean, it does tend to be kind of like 4 hours of just conversation with probably about 20 minutes of sport thrown in.
And a halftime show.
And a halftime show, yeah. I'm going to try and stay up for that tonight. But I'm 55 this year. I'm afraid my days of staying up into the wee small hours long gone.
Yeah,
you just reach that stage in the evening where you think, "Oh, I'm just gonna put my slippers on, and sit in front of the television."
We're gonna party all night long. We're gonna party at 10 o'clock.
It's a bit like when you're over here, and we're like, it's kind of like, let's watch some YouTube videos and that sort of thing and whatever. And then once we've had a curry and a beer, we're just like, 10 o'clock. So we knock it in for the night now.
Time to turn in, really, isn't it? It's way past time to turn in. So.
I was going to say, I was even thinking back to Telford. We tend to have a cut-off point of about midnight, and that's it.
Yeah.
What tea? I've grown into somebody I despise now. Goodness me. Anyway, on that note,
fortunately, you've grown into somebody we despise as well. So.
Hey, I'm not having that. Because earlier on, right, I didn't put this comment up, but now that you're all ganging up and having a go at me, right?
The best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I thought, and that's
Neither
not my mum posting.
Neither could we.
I can't find it, but anyway, apparently I'm, I can't find it, but anyway, it was quite a funny comment, and like I say, it wasn't me posting it, it wasn't me mum. But yes, thanks to the
quite a funny comment and much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. My ego needs no more inflating, but Armour Workshop. Thanks for that, Armour Workshop. But anyway, we'll be back on Wednesday. Yeah, I think I'll keep the tempo for Wednesday. We'll do a live unboxing then. That'll be exciting.
Do it on Wednesday.
I
won't be available Wednesday because I'm off to Newcastle on Wednesday morning for a couple of days. So, yes, I'm off to see friends and let's go to some gigs and have fun for a couple of days.
All right. Well, I'll see if Dave's available on Wednesday.
YA Gancanny and stuff.
Don't, because if you start doing that, I will do that voice that drives you mad.
No, don't.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So I've built that one, that voice. Dear me. Right. On that note, well, Mo won't be back on Wednesday, but we'll see if we can get Dave on. If not, I might actually have a Wednesday off. Or I
Dave,
might just do
oh,
it. Or I'll do a solo show. We'll wait and see. Or try and get. I want to get Mike on, but I think Mike works better with when you're on as well. So you know. Oh, Stan says he says nice model shop 10 miles south, Drew. So I'm sure you'll sniff out a model shop in one form or another.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Oh, up in
right.
Newcastle. So
yeah. All right, Mike. Now I'll
there
get Mike
you
on
go.
Wednesday.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah, you've
fun.
been threatening to get him on for ages.
Yeah, exactly. Make him work for his
Yeah.
money. So on that note,
Well, the thing
it
is,
just
Mike
remains-
can just hit print on something now and then come and spend time on. Now he's going all
Fun.
3D printing. See, doesn't have to sit
That's
over a
fun.
hot casting pot all the time. He can just hit print and then earn a living on here.
Yeah, let the machines do the work. That's the future we were promised. The
Yeah, the
machines
machines
would do all
doing
the
the-
work. We could live a life of leisure. This is like an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. But on that note, it just remains to say thank you for watching. We're very grateful. Obviously, it does go without saying, everybody stay safe, stay out of trouble. None more so than our friends on both sides of the border in a far off land. You know, try and resolve your differences there.
Just try and not. Just try and not.
That's true, exactly. So so on that note, we will see. Well, I'll see you on Wednesday, and we'll be back next Sunday. So until then, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Good night,
Bye
all.
for now.